Hello and welcome back to the Second City podcast. I'm Callum, joined as always by Dan Sketchley. Hello, Dan.
All right, Cal. Long time no see.
I know it's been barely 24 hours since I last saw
Yeah,
you.
what's it been? It's been about 20 hours probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we mentioned last week, we had a fun weekend at we went to the EFL Trophy final, or the Bristol
The
Street
Street
Motors
Motors.
Trophy final, as it's known now. Formerly the Papa John's Trophy, formerly
Check a trade.
Checker Trade Trophy. Of course, it was once, as those watching on YouTube will see, it was once the Auto Windscreens Trophy. I'm wearing a blue shirt with an Auto Windscreen sponsor. Of course, Blues won it when it was the Auto Windscreens. We won it in 91 and 95, as I kept telling Callum and
Yeah.
Will yesterday. Yeah, Blues have won this trophy twice. What were your thoughts on the day? So for context, Callum lives in Wickham now.
Yeah.
So you were able to sort tickets for us. So we kind of went for the day out. Um, what did you think of it all? What did you think of it all?
Very different to my all my other trips to Wembley,
Yeah.
except for the result, because as I've told you quite a few times, my Wembley record is atrocious. I think I've been to Wembley 8 times and I've seen 2 wins for the team that I've been supporting, and that's including
Mm.
yesterday. So results wise, it was as expected. I expected Wickham to lose. Um, but yeah, obviously the capacity was quite a bit down. There's only like 15,000 Wickham fans and like well, the total capacity was just over 42,
I think
was
it's
it?
42, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically Villa Park. The capacity of Villa Park was inside Wembley yesterday.
Yeah, it was. I don't mind that the capacity thing. I think is fine because it's obviously they are
Oh
two
yeah, yeah.
smaller clubs. It's just interesting. Obviously, I don't think you have ever been to a game in that competition. I don't think I've ever watched a game
No.
in that competition. Yeah, I don't know. It was just it's interesting. It was weird, like 'cause it was a cup final.
But
And like when Peterborough scored, so for context, the game was 0-0 until the 85th minute,
yeah,
and then Peterborough went 1-0 up in the 85th minute, and then Wickham equalised with a banger in the 89th minute, a wicked, it was like a
yeah.
half volley, and then in the 92nd minute, Peterborough scored. If you have not seen it, go check it out. It's on Sky Sports Football's YouTube page. The Peterborough winner is bizarre. It's
Yeah.
outrageous.
It's a mishit cross, but
It's a
it's
miss it
like
cross. It's like
oh,
it's got shades of like Papis Cisse
yeah.
against Chelsea. Um, it's not
It
quite like that, but it's that sort of weird. The wind just carries it in, and it like,
Yeah,
um,
it's a really weird goal, and he obviously never meant it, but it might still be one of the best goals I've ever seen live. It
mm,
was unreal.
yeah, we were pretty speechless afterwards. So it was kind of strange because like the Peterborough when that went in, the Peterborough end was like mental. They were going
Yeah.
like crazy and stuff. But then like it's sort of weird, like coming out. Like there was like Wickham fans around us. Like I heard a lot of like,
Yeah.
oh well, we played well. And I'm like, what? Like if I'd like just lost a cup final,
Oh,
I'd be
yeah.
like devastated. So I'm not really sure where the EFL Trophy stands to clubs like that. I don't really know, but no, it was interesting and like the sort of yeah. I think you or Will said it was like being at a stag do at times.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like rather than like a cup final, but
I've
no, a
never
fun
been
day out
sat
nonetheless.
down at a cup final
Mm.
especially in the lower tiers at Wembley.
Yeah, and we
I've never been sat down.
sat down for pretty much the whole thing as well.
Pretty much the entire Wickham section was all sat down, apart from this tiny bit of safe standing that they've now got at Wembley.
Mm. And there was that weird group at the front that were like right behind the goal that were like
Trying to make an
like
atmosphere and
yeah, but
be
it
up at
felt like, do you remember at the Qatar World Cup, like whenever Qatar
yeah.
played, there was a group right behind the goal that were clearly put there by
Yeah.
whoever the powers that be to like make it atmosphere get going. It kind of looked more like that, to be honest. Um, but no, fun day out nonetheless. I was saying I haven't been to a game at Wembley since the League Cup final, Blues Arsenal 2011. Um,
I have one more highlight
so
from yesterday as well, Dan. Before
uh,
we move on from the EFL Trophy, is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in a football stadium, which is shoes off if you love Wickham, and everyone
yeah,
started putting their shoes in the air. I've never seen
yeah.
anything like it.
Well,
I hope
we
the
were
game's
snobby and
gone.
didn't take part, did we?
No.
Will did.
In
Will took
fairness,
part.
we were both in Converse. It was much more hassle than it was worth
Yeah,
to
it's
take
more
your shoe
difficult.
off.
That's true. That's very true. It's funny though. we were kind of comparing it to like, is it in Sunderland Until I Die? When I can't remember. There's that season which is covered in it where they play Portsmouth twice at Wembley,
Yeah,
and then
that's
it
the EFL
once is in the
Trophy.
yeah,
Yeah.
once is the EFL Trophy and once is the playoffs. And I can't remember which one this is, but like obviously Sunderland lose both games. Um, and it cuts to like a Sunderland fan. I think it's after the EFL Trophy, and she's like, why is it never us? Why? Like, she's like crying. It's kind of we're sort of parodying that on the way out as
Yeah.
Wickham lost to Peterborough. Why is it never us? Um, but no, yeah, go check out the winning goal. It's absolutely outrageous. Hell of a way to win a final. And I didn't realize Alex Ferguson was at the game as well.
Ah.
Yeah, because obviously Darren Ferguson's the Peterborough manager. But anyway, that was the EFL Trophy. This week, obviously Blues played. I went to another game on Saturday. Actually, I went
Yeah.
to Leicester away with Blues on Saturday, so we'll get into that. Villa played on Saturday as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
You played Brentford. Brentford.
We played Brentford
Um,
and we played Manchester City in midweek as well. So we got
oh,
two
of
of our
course, yeah, of
games to
course, of
cover,
course, yeah.
unfortunately.
Yes, yeah, morale is low in the camp today.
Yeah.
Other than the EFL Trophy saved us this weekend.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, then we'll talk about all them, a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll get into the upcoming games for this week because there's double game week for us this week. So yeah, cool. Shall we start then with what we're wearing as we always do?
Yeah. We've both gone semi-retro this week as well.
Oh, I'm a
Well,
lot
you're
more
more
retro than
retro
you, I
than I
think.
am, but
Yeah,
um, let's guess yours first. I feel like we haven't done that in a while.
sure.
So as we mentioned earlier, auto windscreens. It's
Yeah.
Lecoq Sportif,
Hmm.
um, mostly plain blue, but with this nice white V-neck and white cuffs as well, with a bit of blue detailing. As I think on another shirt you had, I think it might have been the Phones for You one you had a few weeks ago. The badge is in like a weird oval shield as well. It was very of that era, I think, which is
Mm.
late 90s, because on one of the Villa shirts I had a few weeks ago was the shield in a shield.
Mm.
Um, so we're gonna go around 98, 99 home.
Only a couple of years off. This is the 2001 shirt. I so yeah, first new kit of the millennium. This was for us. Most famous this season, and I thought it'd be appropriate to get it on. Speaking of the Wembley heart or cup final heartache that we had this weekend, thought I'd get it on because this was the year that Blues. So despite being it was at the time the first division, which is now the championship. Despite being a championship team, Blues got to the League Cup final this season and played Liverpool, and Liverpool won a weird. So unfortunately, Liverpool won the game, and they won a weird treble this year. Of I think it was League Cup,
UEFA
FA
Cup.
Cup, UEFA Cup, yeah, which is a bit unusual. Um, but yeah, so I was trying to think of that. It's like mad now. That's like if Blues got to a cup final now and played like Man United or something. It'd be pretty mad, it'd be
Yeah.
pretty crazy. Unfortunately, I don't have any memory of the game itself. Kind of, but obviously we were born, but we were very young at the time. Um, and what's even crazier is Blues went 1-0 down. I think it was Robbie Fowler scored in the first half with an outrageous goal. And this game was at the Millennium Stadium as well because the old Wembley was being demolished to make way for the new one. And then Blues got a penalty, hung in there and got a penalty in the 90th minute, and Darren Purse stepped up and scored it, and that must have been bedlam. That must have been absolutely crazy. That's the equivalent of like was there was there a person centre back? I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, a little bit before my time. That's the equivalent of like Blues playing Man United at Wembley in the Carling Cup final, and like Dion Sanderson stepping up and bagging a penalty in the last minute. That'd be or like Mark Roberts. Stepping up and scoring a penalty. Must have been pretty mad. And then Blues were famously really robbed of in extra time. They had a second penalty appeal turned down, which is every bit as crazy as the first. I think even the most biased of Liverpool fans would agree looking back. But obviously we went back and won it 10 years later, so there's that at least. But there's also a great video from that day of the teams like shaking hands and right after the national anthem and stuff. And you can sort of hear it's like Keep Right On and You'll Never Walk Alone are both sort of drowning each other out. But you can just like there's one bit where You'll Never Walk Alone is a lot more prominent, and then kind of segues into Keep Right On, becomes a lot louder. It's really an amazing video. Amazing sense of atmosphere. I believe my uncle and my granddad went to that game. I believe I seem to remember them saying. Um, But yeah, looked like a crazy game. Otherwise, this season, oh, side note, apparently the semi-final we beat Ipswich. I think it was we beat them 4-1 in the second leg at home to reach the final. Andy Johnson scored a famous goal where the keeper kind of air kick, the ball's rolling back to the keeper and he kind of air kicks it, just completely mistimed. It takes a bobble and it mistimes it and it leaves Andy Johnson can run clean through and score. It's a great goal, looked like an amazing night. But yeah, in the league this year, we finished fifth. It was Trevor Francis's last full season as Blues manager, and we got knocked out by Preston in the playoff semi-final. Unfortunately, there was a run of a few years where we kept getting into the playoffs, but just didn't get over the line until the following year, which is when we did get promoted. And despite all what must have been a pretty great season on the whole, despite a lot of near misses, our top scorer was Jeff Horsfield, who only scored 7 goals. So we didn't really have a prolific goal scorer, but sounded like a pretty successful season on the whole, despite a bit of heartache. And as for the kit, I think it's absolutely wicked. It's really simple. I love these sort of more baggy, sort of 90s, noughties kits. Yeah, lovely. Really simple. Really like it.
What do you think of this one? This is, I believe, the last shirt of mine that I had as a child that still fits me. So it's like a
I was gonna
junior
say it looks a bit
XL. I think it's a junior XL. It's basically the equivalent, I guess, of a men's small near enough. And
mm.
it's the last shirt, maybe, that has my name on the back.
Oh, burn 6.
Yeah, a weird
It's like
number
a
choice because the number I would have had was 26, but obviously this is back in a day where you had to pay per letter and number. So
yeah,
I could only have one number. So I had to make a decision and 6 always seemed like a nicer number than 2 to
yeah,
have on the back of the shirt. So we went with 6. Um,
smart. Well, it's a Nike shirt. It looks like there's a bit of a checkered pattern on it.
yeah,
No sponsor on this one. Would have been a
which
sponsor in real
there
life.
there would have been a
In like,
sponsor. Yeah, so there's a the
but is it
sponsor
because it's a
would have been,
kids kit?
yes, so the sponsor would have
Yes.
been
So
Genting Casinos, I believe.
yeah, so kind of betting sponsors on them, and the shoulder, the claret's kind of going all the way over the shoulder. I think it is uh mm, early 2010s. I'm gonna say 20. Oh, I'm gonna say 2011, 12. I'm gonna say.
You've gone and got it.
Oh, nice, nice. I was thinking of going a year later, but yeah,
Yeah, 2011,
I can imagine
2012
like Darren
home.
Bent playing in that.
Yes, Darren Bent did play in this kit. Yeah. So this would have been the one and only season of Alex McLeish. Obviously, I didn't know we were doing our Second City stories on McLeish back when I was away at the start of the season. So this shirt never actually got its wear on that episode. So we're giving it its run out today. So we finished 16th in the Premier League. Obviously, narrowly avoiding relegation. It was a pretty bad season, mostly because, as we spoke about in that Second City story, a lot of the off the field issues really spilled onto the pitch in terms of there was so much negativity in the stands. It really didn't help us on the pitch. Darren Bent, as you said, played for us. He was our top scorer in the league. He only scored 9 goals. We stayed up.
Did he not come in the January?
That was the year before under Gerard
Oh, right.
Houllier. Um, so obviously this is when the money at Villa really started to dry up as Randy Lerner was starting to kind of pull his investment a little bit. So um, so we won 7 games all season. We were actually unbeaten in our opening 7 games, and we won 2 matches, which were against Blackburn and Wigan. So to think we only won like 5 more games all season is quite crazy. Um, and our last win, so on the 21st of January, we obviously had that famous win away at Wolves where Robbie Keane, who'd just come in on a short-term loan, scored twice. We only won 1 more game until the end of the season, and that was in the middle of March. And we went on a really bad run. We famously this season drew so many games. We drew 17 matches and squeaked to 38 points, and we stayed up by 2 points. So a really poor season. But famously we did beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. We won 3-1. Stephen Ireland, Stilian Petrov, all scored. Did Michael Brighton get one as well? Maybe. Um, But yeah, a really bad season, but a lovely shirt. Our night kits in this era were just, it was just like hit after hit after hit. They were just really, really good. Um, Although I wasn't so big on the away shirt for this year. It's basically the same template, just white and claret rather than claret and
Yeah,
blue. But it was maybe more of a burgundy than a claret. It just didn't really quite work for me. And obviously because they kept the checkerboard, there was like almost like a, not really a navy, but it was like a grey blue for the dark checker. So
yeah.
it was close, but no cigar. But the home shirt, absolutely love. Um, and I think it was at the same sort of year, maybe might have been the year after Man United, who had Nike at the time, had a checkerboard home shirt as well, which was a really nice Man United shirt.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's 11-12 home.
Remarkable that you stayed up with less points than we went down with the year before. So
Yeah.
rough few years for Alex McLeishan.
38 points now, and you'd be comfortable in the Premier League. It's
Oh,
just the
yeah.
way that it's changed.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Shall we get into the games then?
Yes.
We'll start with you then, because you played twice this week.
Yes, yes. So we played Manchester City on Wednesday. Also, as well, if you want to jump around the podcast as we go, there should be timestamps in the description on YouTube or on the podcast. I know on Apple Podcasts in particular, you can jump around quite easily if you're only interested in hearing the Villa or the Blues. But you should listen to both. Yes, Manchester City away. I wasn't very hopeful going into the game. I wasn't very hopeful when the team news came out. I wasn't very hopeful when the updated team news came out. And but I was hopeful at half time. But yes, unfortunately, we went on to lose 4-1. A game where we made quite a lot of changes. Some were enforced through injury, like Ollie Watkins. We rested players like Yuri Tielemans, Pau Torres, Leon Bailey. Emi Martinez had a stomach bug, so he had to pull out after being originally named in the starting 11. So the team that we kind of put out is the sort of team you'd expect us to like kind of name in the third round of the League Cup. Like it's no disrespect to those players, but certainly wasn't our strongest 11. I know Manchester City made changes as well, but I mean they still had Foden, Rodri, Alvarez, Grealish. You still look at their team and go, well, that team could win the league. Um, my three-word match review for this match, I'm going to give it a good effort. I think under the circumstances of the side that we put out, I think, for at least 60, 70 minutes, they were well in the game. Obviously, they went a goal down very early on, and it was quite worrying that first 10 minutes. Grew into the game, scored a really well-worked goal between Zaniolo, Rogers, and Duran, who finished it off to put us 1-1. And then right on half time, we give away a silly free kick. Zaniolo kind of, it's not just him because Konza and I think it's Diego Carlos. The wall basically splits, which is criminal at this level. And Phil Foden scores his first of the night. 2-1 down at half time, but a bit of hope that maybe we can still get back into the game. But just as we were making the changes on the hour mark to bring on the likes of Leon Bailey, I think Musa Diaby was coming on. Um, Yuri Tielemans was coming on then. We conceded the second, and the game was 3-1 at that point, and there was no real way we were going to get back into it. And then so we sort of swapped those changes around a bit. We brought Callum Chambers on just to keep resting players really, and unfortunately he did make a mistake for the fourth goal, that Phil Foden's hat trick. So I can only it was a good effort from the lads that were out there. I thought Tim Miragabunam did a semi-decent job in a very tough match. I thought Morgan Rogers, Zaniolo, and Duran were very impressive in the first half, especially. So I'm going to give John Duran my man of the match, but I can't grade it more than a D. We lost 4-1, but maybe a bit harsh, but ultimately we did lose 4-1. So yeah, there's not much more to say. I said it was a free hit last week. We kind of treated it like a free hit. I think it's fair to say. Um, I would have liked to have seen a full strength Villa side go out because I do think that we could have got something maybe on another night if we'd have played as well as I know we can play and with our strongest 11. But I kind of understand some of the changes and some of them, as I said, were enforced. So yeah, sweep that one under the rug and let's move on.
Fair enough. Yeah, interesting because you still got to play Arsenal, and you're playing Arsenal this weekend. We'll get onto that, and
Yeah.
you got to play Liverpool still as well, aren't you?
Yeah, they're our
So,
last home game of the season.
so yeah, you get a big say in the title race this year as we go into it. They'll definitely look at you as a team to uh, where they may drop points as well. Obviously, not much room for them to be doing that between now and the end of the season. So you played one of the big boys in the Premier League. We played one of the big boys in the Championship. We had Leicester away. Third time we played them this season now because we played them under Rooney at home, lost 3-2, and then we played them in the FA Cup under Mowbray as well. And actually played well both times. We are actually unfortunate to lose both games. And I actually got on for my first away day of 2024. Um, and so we lost 2-1 to a late goal as well. Mavadidi scored again against us. But it felt really frustrating. Leicester are clearly a much better team. They keep the ball a lot better. There was spells of the game where they just keep the ball for ages and ages and ages. But the difference between, I don't know, eras gone by and like games this season and now how much the players put into it, I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. The players really fought for it. Like, and it's what I associate with like the Rowett team from like, however many years ago it was, 7 or 8 years ago. That like character and that like just throwing your body on the line no matter what. And so what I think we maybe lacked in quality at times, like we dawdled on the ball a lot, and I don't know. I think at times you can tell players have clearly had multiple sets of instructions on what to do from various different managers across the season. Like, not to pick on him or anything, but like Ivu didn't have his best game, and highly doubt will be at Blues next season. Um, like there's times he'd get the ball and he would be moving out with it, and it's like he just didn't know what to do with it. He'd be really hesitant on it. He'd sit on it for ages. Not literally, of course, but and that's the frustrating thing. Like, so our build-up play would be really slow, and we really had to take advantage of what limited chances we would have. Um, we went 1-0 down fairly early on, but then we equalised right before half time. An absolutely mad goal. The keeper's gone to just boot the ball downfield, and Jay Stansfield's just charged him down, stuck his right leg out at the last minute. It's hit off him, and he scored right on the stroke of half time. There was a bit of a weird like delay in the celebration in the away end. Um,
Will it be
as a
your
result.
goal of the month? Will it
Well,
get your vote?
it's it's the first goal. Is it the first goal? No, I know the second goal was scored in April. No, sorry. It won't even be Jay Stansfield's goal of the month, unfortunately. But brilliant play from him, nonetheless. Brilliant, like just that. Why not charge him down, give it a go? He closes him down, gets really lucky, hits off him, goes in the net. Leicester have basically just thrown the ball in their own net right before half time. Um, and so yeah, terrific way to get back into the game. Um, Completely changes the halftime team talk and everything, of course. And then the second half was kind of a lot of Leicester. We didn't have many clear cut chances after that. They had a lot of possession. Um, Shout out to, in particular, I thought Ruddy was excellent. I thought Sanderson, who comes in for a bit of flack at times, but in my opinion, that was a captain's performance from him. He gave everything. So did Buchanan, who was at left back. Them three in particular were excellent. It was down the opposite end to us that Leicester were attacking the second half, but they had a chance. And how it was like sort of the ball seemed to be just sort of pinging about in the 6 yard box, and it looked like I watched Sky Sports highlights back, and it didn't seem to be in there. But it looked like Sanson and Buchanan just absolutely like just literally threw themselves on it. It was like, do you remember? Was it the World Cup in South Africa where there's that famous clip of like John Terry where he's like diving like head
Yeah,
first to like just keep the ball out. It wasn't like literally that, but it was that level of commitment.
putting your
And
life on
I
the
think
line.
yeah, literally. And so the players really fought for it. They were and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Rowett deserves a lot of credit for getting that out of them again. And then typically we do all this brilliant defending. Ruddy has a great game. Um, Obviously we give away a free header in the 6 yard box. Mavadidi scores it. Leicester win 2-1. Obviously they get so despite the really bad month they've had, they're now top with a game in hand.
Yeah, because
Um,
all the results went their way this weekend as well.
yeah, so Leeds lost and Ipswich lost.
Yeah.
So really hard to take because I thought the players deserved that. I know we lost, but because of how good the performance was, like, just I appreciate just the effort that they put in, and you could feel the sort of deflation in the away end. It was quite positive up until that winner. I'm going to give it a B for that. No shame in losing to Leicester, although we have lost to them 3 times this season. Um, I'm gonna give it a B. My three-word match review. I'm gonna say, um, ah, hmm, harsh but fair. I guess I don't know. It's like I don't know, harsh, but Leicester are clearly a better team. Um, but it was a sucker punch. So yeah, harsh but fair. And my man of the match, it could be any of Sanderson, Buchanan, and or Ruddy. I'm gonna give it to Sanderson. I've been bigging him up, and yeah, I thought he was excellent. He comes in for a bit of stick, and obviously he's been out of the team with like suspension and injuries a bit lately. But he was really really good. One of his best performances of the season, in my opinion. But you could flip a coin, and that could be him or Buchanan. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to them.
Obviously,
So
with
yeah, hard to take.
yeah, and there was a late goal in another match as well for Huddersfield, which has obviously put you in the
Yeah,
bottom three as well.
yeah. So kind of brings us on to the feeling of it all was and how quick your emotions in football can change so quick. Because with a few minutes, so Leicester scored in the 88th minute. We were before that just about out of the relegation zone, despite the fact that Rotherham had been beaten by Plymouth earlier in the day. So Plymouth had won. Sheffield Wednesday won, I think, and yeah, Huddersfield won as well. Despite that, it was still quite a positive day. Excuse me, quite a positive day on the whole still. Just about keeping us out. But now we find ourselves in the bottom three with 5 games left. So it is dangerous times, man. It is concerning. And I've said this that if we do go down at the end of the season, and it is a very, very real possibility now. If we do go down, it's not because we lost away at Leicester in April. And I can see us playing well and picking up points between now and the end of the season. And I do think Rowett will get something out of us, continue to get something out of this team. But there is a very realistic chance that it may just not be quite enough. And that would be such a shame. This would have been sown months ago. This relegation that would have been sentenced to our fate months ago. So it'd be such a huge shame because but we're not out of it yet. We got a huge game against Cardiff on Wednesday, which we'll get onto. We got Derby against Coventry, and then we have two enormous games away at Rotherham and Huddersfield. They are huge, huge, huge games. I'm going to the Rotherham game, so I'm looking forward to that. Um, so yeah, dangerous days, man. Panicky times, I gotta say. The only good thing about some of them teams I mentioned winning was they beat. So that meant I can't remember who was playing who. Meant QPR and Millwall both lost as well. So they've kind of been brought a little bit more back into it now. So there's still every chance that they could go down now. But yeah, dangerous days, man.
Yeah, and we're right in the running now as well. So
Mm,
or we'll be told. But yeah, you've got a fun, stressful away trip up to Rotherham on the books. So
yeah,
um right. We also played at 3 o'clock on Saturday as well. It's been a while since we both played at the same time. We had Brentford at home, and man, we saw the best and we saw the absolute worst of Aston Villa on Saturday. We drew 3-3, having comfortably led by 2 goals to nil just after the break. Ollie Watkins put us ahead just before half time. Morgan Rogers I think he got his first assist against Manchester City. Now got his first goal against Brentford. Wonderful goal, really well worked. Um, and then we just switched off and we were a bit lazy, a bit lethargic. And as for some reason we love conceding goals between minute 45 and 60, I think we just about conceded 2 goals in 2 minutes, just on the hour mark. All of a sudden it's 2-2, shell shocked, and then we conceded a third. Some of the defending foot. I mean, the first goal is bad defending and then very unlucky. Um, Zanka or Jorgensen, depending on what you want to call him, um, has gone to like score as the cross has come in. He's missed it with the foot he's swung a boot at. It's hit his standing leg and gone in. So that's an annoying one to concede. But then the defending for the other two is really, really, really bad. We're not picking up markers. We're not stopping the cross. It's just lost for words, really. That we've let some poor goals in this year, but I mean to let 3 goals in, 3 very avoidable goals, 2 of them within 2 minutes. You know, you always see Unai Emery on the sideline. if we go behind, or if all of a sudden the game has turned and we're under a lot of pressure, and he's just there saying, calm down, slow it down, calm down, get your composure back. And sometimes we just don't do that. I mean, yeah, absolute mess. So that was the worst of Aston Villa, but we also saw the best in Aston Villa to go 2-0 up and also to get back into the game and salvage a point. And so we got Ollie Watkins to thank for the equalising goal. Very good header. But it's definitely felt like 2 points dropped this weekend. It feels like a loss. My 3-word match review for this match was Stoke 2009 again, or Stoke 09 again. Because so going back to the Martin O'Neill days, I would have worn that shirt, by the way, for this tangent to work, but I don't own it. So um, we were we had a European game in the midweek against CSK in Moscow. Martin O'Neill basically sacrificed the game. We lost away in Moscow. We played the kids because we wanted to focus on qualifying for the Champions League in the top four. I think we were fourth at the time, or we might have been fifth. We were right on the bubble, and we had Stoke on the Saturday or the Sunday, and we went 2-0 up. John Carew scored an unbelievable goal. It's one of the best goals in Premier League history. You'll see them wheel it out once a year on the Premier League Twitter account. Amazing goal. And late on in the last 10 minutes, we threw the game away and drew 2-2. And we never really recovered from it. We threw away a great opportunity to go very deep in the UEFA Cup, and then we didn't qualify for the Champions League, and we went on this bad run. It felt like that game, just in terms of we threw away the Manchester City game in midweek. We rested loads of players. We had injuries, yes, but we rested a lot of other players and just sort of sacrificed the game. Hope we don't get smashed, to focus on this game and to therefore throw the game away in very similar fashion and only bring away a point. It did feel like I was going back in time a little bit. So I hope this Villa team is better than that Martin O'Neill Villa team, and so I do hope that they will move on from that. Obviously, we're still in Europe, which we'll come on to a bit later. But yeah, very, very tough one to take, really. But it is what it is. The pressure is now all on Tottenham. They are favourites for the top four. They've got they're level on points. They've got the game in hand. They're above us. They might even be 3 points ahead now. I don't really know. So we can only focus on ourselves, really. So I'm going to grade. It's hard to grade the game because it really was 10 minutes of madness cost us the game. So I'm going to give it a C because for the rest of the game, we were the dominant team. And if there was a team that was going to win the game, it was going to be us, apart from that 10-minute spell where we let 3 goals in. So yeah, give it a C. Man of the match be Ollie Watkins, obviously. So yeah, it just makes the next week absolutely huge. And yeah, it is what it is, I suppose.
Fair enough. What did you make of Ollie Watkins' comment that Villa lack big club mentality? Was what he said.
I think he was absolutely right.
Fair
I
enough.
don't think there's anything to overreact from it in that, you look at, we've spoken about this year. I've said it a lot. We let too many goals in. We've not kept enough clean sheets. We've conceded the same, or we've conceded either the same, or just in that game we've conceded more goals this year than we did in the entirety of last season. We still got
Mm.
a fair few games to
About
go.
7 games left, haven't
7 games left or something. So I've known for a while we've conceded a lot of goals this year. The teams that are at the top of the league fighting, to make that step, you see these games out. You might have the odd blip here and there, but we should. It's not the first time it's happened this year where we've thrown away a 2-goal lead. We did it at Man United, we did it at Luton, we did it against Burnley, we did it against Forest, and sooner or later you're going to get caught out. We got caught out against Man United, we got caught out against Brentford. So we just have to hope that we actually learn from it. But it's Aston Villa, so I don't think we will. But it's important not to be too low in the lows and maybe too high in the highs. We can't be too dramatic. It's been a very good season, and it's just a blip, and we'll see what happens next. And I guess that'll take us kind of swiftly onto the housekeeping portion of this podcast. So, obviously, just before the Brentford game on Saturday, We had the bad and maybe not too unexpected news, maybe that Jacob Ramsey is now out for the season. Um, it's a shame because I think in the run up to Manchester City, they posted some training pictures of him, but this foot injury that he's had since the under 21 Euros last year, it has just been an occurring problem all year. And, you know, there's always a reason why I hate seeing Villa players in the England squad or going on international duty is because, as I say every time, they either get slated on social media, they get sold off the back of it, or they get injured. And Jacob Ramsey, who really, in my opinion, should not have been in that under 21 squad. He probably almost certainly should have been in the senior England setup at the end of last season, given especially how he ended the year. Um, Especially when they were giving pity caps out in the brief international break at the end of the season. Going to that European Championship has written off his entire season at Aston Villa. I know he's made maybe 16 appearances, most of them off the bench. He's not been fully fit for 10 of them, if we're being kind. Um, so clearly that foot injury has come up again as he's come back, as he's been coming back after the Luton game. So I guess it makes sense right off the rest of the season, the last 2 months of it, get it properly healed and come back next season. Hopefully he's still here next season. I don't particularly think we'll sell him in the summer, but I'd be very disappointed if we did, but I guess time will tell. It's a shame. Um, but hopefully he can use the preseason and this extra time off to really get that foot healed and come back firing next year. Obviously, and the main disappointment is as well is because I thought he should have been in that England squad. A chance to get into the Euros squad this year. England aren't exactly stacked with central midfielders, so a missed opportunity, I guess. But the next World Cup's here soon.
Yeah, not and also only 2 months ago to the Euros. So yes, exciting times. But yeah, of course, a shame to hear that from a human perspective, of course. So on the Blues front, so recording on Monday, the club announced today that Blues are pleased to confirm the appointment of Mike Rigg to the position of Academy Technical Director. Now, like most people, the first thing that springs to my mind is that that sounds like a fake name.
Yes.
Mike Rigg, Mike Rigg. It's like what's the Aston Martin guy called in Formula
Oh,
One?
Mike Crack.
Mike Rigg. Brilliant. Yes. Excuse our childish humor, but yeah. At least he's not called Mike Crack.
Yeah.
Blues are pleased to confirm the appointment of Mike Rigg to the position of Academy Technical Director. And then the statement goes on to say that the 53-year-old, experienced in creating pathways between academy and first team football, joins with immediate effect and will connect with the academy's existing leadership as they work towards the ambition of regaining Category 1 status ahead of the 25-26 season. And then CEO Gary Cook said, "Nothing is more important to the future success of this football club than the academy. That is why we have appointed Mike Rigg, a senior respected leader in the professional game. His goal is to make the academy world class, attracting the best young talent and developing them into outstanding professionals and people. He will be given the time and the necessary support to make the Birmingham City Academy revered across the globe." So yeah, obviously not too much to say on it. But interesting to see that the American ownership are taking the academy very seriously. Obviously, there were some rumors under the last ownership that the academy may be even wound down effectively, which would be absolutely bizarre. Obviously, the club did get to category 1 academy status a few years ago, and then it was very quickly downgraded again because it wasn't being properly funded and supported and so on. So it's great to see that they want to get back to category 1 and that they've actually set a timestamp on it as well in public of saying before the 25-26 season. So yeah, that's very interesting. But also on the housekeeping front. So tomorrow night or the Tuesday, whenever people are listening to this, is the second Blues open house. So Blues will be streaming it live on Blues TV, and it's basically, if anyone missed what was going on with the first one, it's like an invite-only event with the members of the ownership and usually the manager to basically establish their, basically a way of communicating effectively with the fans and establish what's going on behind the scenes and open to questions and so on, and establish the direction that the club is going in. So on the Blues website, the statement said, supporters will be able to watch live coverage of the second Blues open house. This one, the theme of this one is ambition. The event takes place at the Jasper Carrot Suite at St Andrews at Knighthead Park on Tuesday, 9th of April. Starts at 6:30, and there's only 100 invitees in attendance. So it's great that it's been streamed on Blues TV. And it said CEO Gary Cook will be joined in person by Chairman of the Board Tom Wagner. So that's very exciting that he's there for this one as well. And other members of the club's leadership team to discuss two primary areas: infrastructure and fan experience, followed by an open floor Q&A. So it'd be really interesting to see what comes out of that one. Really interesting that Tom Wagner's going, and he's also going to be in attendance for the Cardiff game on Wednesday. So that's really cool to see. Flying over from New York for that. So that nicely takes us on to previewing the Cardiff and games beyond. If we want to get into that now, Cal.
Yeah. Cardiff games first, so just roll
Yeah,
straight in.
sweet. So yeah, I mentioned Blues. We've got some huge games coming up, and the first of those is Cardiff at home on Wednesday night. Um, Cardiff, I think they're 11th in the league at the minute. They are probably the most, mm, like, they are a definitive mid-table team this year. I think they're about 11 points off playoffs. So they're not going to get playoffs. They're not going to go down.
Which
They're
is a
firmly
marked
building towards.
improvement on the last couple of years for them as well with their
Yeah,
transfer
absolutely. Yeah.
embargoes.
Yeah, completely. Absolutely. I'd absolutely take being them right now. Um, so weirdly, even though we are playing worse teams between now and the end of the season, like on paper, Huddersfield and Rotherham are definitely worse teams. It's one of the most winnable games we've got because they are the only team we're playing between now and the end of the season who have got nothing to play for. Coventry are gunning for playoffs. Huddersfield, Rotherham, I suppose. Rotherham are down, aren't they? Pride, I suppose. But Huddersfield fighting for their lives. Got Norwich on the last game of the season. They're fighting for playoffs. So at home against Cardiff, it's really on us to get something out of this game. And I actually do think we will. We played with so much more conviction against Leicester. I think at home, and we saw what a difference the crowd made about its first home game back against Preston. I do think we'll get something. In terms of performance, it's been a huge improvement the last week or so. So yeah, I'm going for another tight, solid rearguard display and nick a 1-0 win is what I think will happen against Cardiff. Not taking it for granted at all because we've seen our Blues teams can perform under pressure and it's not always a good thing. But no, I think with everything that's on the line, I think we'll pull through. I think we need. It's hard to put like a points number on it of how many we need between now and the end of the season because it just depends on what everyone else does. But if we can get a win on Wednesday, that'd be huge. I think if we win there, I very much hope we'd win against Rotherham in a few weeks. That's 6 points. That's a huge foundation to hopefully pick up draws elsewhere. Um, so yeah, that's my prediction.
Then on Thursday night, I'm going back to Villa Park. We've got the first leg of our quarter-final of the UEFA Europa Conference League against Lille. I've got a really tight turnaround. I was hoping to work from home and then get up to Birmingham, but it looks like I'm going to be in the office till bang on 5 o'clock, and I'm going to have to trek all the way
Whoa,
up to
blimey.
Villa Park. I was having a look on the old Google Maps this morning, and it says on a bad run it'll take you 3 hours. I went, well, that's when the game
What
kicks
time's
off,
kick-off? 8, yeah.
8 o'clock. So it's gonna be a really tight turnaround to get up there. So big game, obviously. A European quarter final. It's very, very exciting. Um, a bit more pressure on it, I suppose, with the week that we just had, where we took 1 point from those two games. Um, it's hard. Obviously, the first leg is very important that we don't do anything stupid really. But also, I think with it being the home tie, we want to win the game really, rather than maybe the way we approached the Ajax game, which was take a 0-0 back to Villa Park and get the job done there. So, obviously, we can't. You can to a certain extent if you win 6-0, but you can't win the tie in the first leg, really. So, I think it'll be very cagey. I think it'll be very close. It's hard to know. Lille are in pretty good form. They're a good team. They are one of the favourites for this competition, as we've said before. Um, Villa Park, under the lights, I'll say 2-1, but it's going to be a close game, and it could be a 0-0 or a 1-1 or something. There's not going to be much between the two teams at all, I don't think. So, looking forward to it, but I'm sure the nerves as the week go on will start to build a little bit. But there's excitement in there as well.
Oh no, I'd be buzzing for that night game, but huge game. I'd be all
The
over that.
fireworks will be out.
Oh yes,
It might even still be a little bit light when the game
it
kicks
probably will
off
be.
as
Yeah,
well, which would be really nice.
yeah, nice, nice. Cool. And then Blues are playing 3 o'clock on Saturday. We've got Coventry. Uh, they are, I think they're seventh at the minute, so they're absolutely going hell for leather for playoffs. They're in good form as well. They had a huge result, beat Leeds at the weekend 2-1 to stop them from going top. So they're very good. Mark Robbins, what a job he's done there. It seemed as
And
well like this year would be more of like a rebuild year for Coventry as well after losing like Jokeres and who's the other one they
Hammer,
lost last year? Yeah,
Gustavo
Hammer.
Hammer. Yeah. And
Yeah,
also they've got the FA Cup semi-final the following week as well.
yes. So it's faint hope, but I kind of hope that's almost a distraction for them. But I doubt it will be because they want to get in them playoffs, man. What a season they've had. Um, So if we can get a draw there, I'd be really pleased with that. If we can get 4 points from the Coventry and the Cardiff games, that'd be an amazing return. Um, Also, like just our record against Coventry is awful. Like they beat us 2-0 earlier in the season in December. It's mad. That's like 4 months ago already. Um, and then did they do the double overs last season? Trying to think. Coventry last season. Yeah, they beat us 2-0 at the end of the season. Did they beat us at St Andrews? No, it was 0-0 at St Andrews. And then they beat us 4-2 at our place, sorry, before that at St Andrews. And then I think we drew them away in the earlier game of that season as well. So yeah, so it's been like I think since they got promoted, we haven't beaten them. I think the last time we might have beaten them would have been that never-ending cup game where we played them away and drew 0-0, and then we played them in the home game and drew 2-2 with a like 120th minute equaliser and extra time, and then we beat them on penalties. I think that was the last time we beat them. Tends to be low scoring games, other than that 4-2. But yeah, if we can get a draw somehow, I'd be all over that. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be a tough game. It's weird to think. Obviously, for most of our lives, Coventry have been rubbish. So you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
they
Mhm.
they were unlucky not to get promoted last year. So I think they'll fancy their
Mhm.
chances if they get in the playoffs. We are playing again on Sunday with a 4:30 kickoff on Sky Sports. We're playing the league leaders, Arsenal at the Emirates. Um, Hard to know how I feel about this game. Really, we're not in. As I said, we've come off a really poor week. We don't know how the game midweek's going to go. Um, so I'm not particularly confident. Arsenal are since the turn of the year have been in sparkling form. Really, they haven't conceded a goal in since what mid. I think it's January, maybe in the
I'm not
league.
sure on that, but I know I think the only points they've dropped in the league in 2024 were the Man City was the 0-0 at Man City.
Yeah, and they were scoring goals for fun. I think it might be at the Emirates. Maybe they haven't conceded in a while.
Mm.
I don't really remember.
But they were
Um,
unbelievable the weekend, weren't they, against Brighton?
yeah, they were. Yeah. So it's going to be really tough. Obviously, we beat them in the reverse fixture. It's not going to be quite like that. And maybe we were lucky to get away with 3 points that day. Um, yeah, any sort of point would be massive and it'd be a point gained. I'm not feeling particularly confident, but if we've got all our players that can be fit, and we play as well as I know we can, then you never know. Obviously, they're in the pressure of a title battle with Manchester City and Liverpool. So, and obviously being the 4:30 game as well, it's one of the last. I don't know if there's a Monday game, but basically we're the last game of the week. So whatever's happened in terms of the title race could have an impact in terms of the pressure that they feel going into the game. So um, I don't think we'll win. I think we'll lose 2-1, but I will happily be proved wrong, Villa. So
No, I think that's fair. Yeah. They're
but I think it'll be close. I think we'll give them a good game, and we're probably not a team they want to face in this part run into the end of the season, but obviously we're not in amazing form, so you never know.
yeah,
But
I know you're playing on the Thursday, but they're also for them it's also sandwiched between the two huge Bayern Munich
Yeah.
quarterfinals in the Champions League. So you never know. It'd be interesting to see how well they can maintain this form now as we go into like the Champions League later stages as well and everything.
Yeah. And they've got the balancing act of trying to go on a good Champions League run as opposed to maybe trying to win the league, as we're looking at, can we win the Conference League or do we go for the top four, even though top five will probably be enough. We'll have a good idea after this European
Mm.
quarterfinals whether England are going to get that fifth place, and that all of a sudden could really take pressure off the end of our season in terms of the league. So yeah, big week. We'll see. Hopefully next week we're happier than we are this
Yes.
week. We've
Yeah.
got no EFL trophy to save us next week, so
No, no, no.
um, I don't think Jed Steer is going to be lifting another trophy at Wembley anytime soon. So in the next week. So but yeah, if you have enjoyed today's podcast, I think we're pretty much wrapped up. So
Yep, for sure.
5-star reviews, leave a like, subscribe on YouTube or Apple, Spotify. Check out the Second City stories that we've done before. I'm sure they'll come back as we hit the off season. So yeah, I guess all
Yep.
that's left to say, Dan, is I'll see you next week and up the Villa.
See you next time. Shit on the Villa. Keep right on. See you next time.